Hi, and read to you from my book, SIN PATRIA, a short story I call Dissident Hours. La Nina is my car and occasionally my home, and when the law requires me to declare an address, I write down 2005 Hyundai accent. Because of this, I have not had a driver's license for years, since the DMV probably sent it to my childhood address in the suburbs of Colorado Springs. My passport is my only form of identification. One person has mistakenly described my life as bohemian, but I would call it dissident, because whereas the former implies a certain joie de vivre, the latter correctly implies the severity and sadness of my life and personality. I live by this maxim: speak softly and carry a big picture. Thus, La Nina, white as snow when I first got her, is now half covered in a growing epic mural. It's the sort of thing I would have tattooed on my arms if I were the sort of person to get tattoos. The art is probably why I get pegged with a bohemian label. The art and my fugitive living arrangements. In the past decade, I have not lived anywhere for more than 6 months at a stretch. I have great memories with a particular chain of motels, which I will call Motel 7. I remember being on the road with my dad a lot when I was little. We'd always stay at a Motel 7 at the end of the day. Two details that stuck in my memory are the fact that the rooms were always chilled and the blankets cool to the touch. Also, there was cable television, and we could watch the Discovery Channel. My brother and sister and I didn't have cable in the house. It was a treat. I still don't know how common cable was. Did most people have it? Were most children allowed to play Pokemon? It's hard to judge, as there was a blanket prohibition on all of contemporary culture. But my father was not rich enough to send us away to a school in Switzerland, or pious enough to have us retreat completely from the things of this world. He had a bourgeois morality on a public school budget, so every morning I walked over to Stagecoach Elementary with all the other little sinners and a backpack of impossible moral obligations. It seemed like a quixotic endeavor to instill in your children a set of values outside of their native context. How can you transplant 1950s Cuba into the desolate, poverty-ridden New Mexico town we lived in during the late 90s? Lord, I remember him trying to force the whole family to have a formal lunch every Sunday after church, putting down a white tablecloth over the dining room and setting the table with a salad fork and an entree fork, etc. It stretched the authority of even his household machista dictatorship. No one wanted to participate in this ritual. Not even my mother, the campesina he had inducted into the regime many years earlier. But I was trying to talk about the Motel 7. How old do you have to be to get a room there? I don't know, except that I think I'm comfortably past the minimum age. Like drinking and smoking, I was far past being this tall to get on that ride before I actually did. When I came back to Colorado Springs from Dallas last April, I was going to try to get an apartment or rent a room or something. La Nina was supposed to be a stopgap before I found a more long-term arrangement. The thing is, I was sleeping so well at night. I do not exaggerate when I say that this summer has seen some of the best sleep I've had in my life. I think it has to do with the confinement. It makes me focus. I have a very small space and few blankets and pillows and clothes to work with in order to produce a good night's sleep. I found an arrangement which worked well enough, and then it's nighttime in a parking lot somewhere, and you hope no one starts fucking with your car so you can avoid the awkward situation of having to ask some unsuspecting jerk-offs to please quiet down, gentlemen. I'm trying to sleep here. Thank you. So, when a person, me, for example, is confined to a back seat only big enough to curl in fetal position, you make your peace with the situation and maybe read a biography of Che Guevara, for example, and try to relax enough to fall asleep. And it worked. Layering the fluffy blankets under the heavier one kept me baking warm all night. If I woke up in the middle of the night and had trouble sleeping, I'd tap open the Kindle app and be drifting off in a few pages. Do you have a movie you've seen so many times, you just put it on to have something to listen to in the background? That Che biography is that same thing for me in the middle of the night. It's like the Bible, in that you don't read a passage once and then never touch it again. You keep on visiting them and hear them again in church. The temptation in the Garden of Eden, David and Goliath, the tribulations of Job, the Annunciation, the virgin birth, the flight into Egypt. Jesus heals the woman with the issue of blood. Anyway, for me, it's not just the familiarity with the chase story, it's the look on the page on the screen of my phone. I have it set so the page is black and the words are white, like constellations in the night sky. And I fall asleep with stars in my eyes. La Nina was the scene of many quiet moments that summer. Many of them were a streetlight keeping a lone car warm in an empty parking lot at night, and a boy asleep behind his mural. Beautiful in many ways, but goddamn, once you get outside the womb, you like to stretch out your legs when you sleep. So whenever I had a little more in my paycheck and a little less in expenses, I would go to the Motel 7 along the interstate and repeat my childhood ritual, now somewhere between that little boy and my father in age. Nostalgia is the reason I get a room at the Motel 7 in particular, but privacy is why I get a motel room anywhere at all. There's nothing I can do in a motel room that I can't do anywhere else except close the blinds in my window and enjoy some goddamn privacy. That and being able to stretch my legs when I lay down. I can work out, shower, shit, and shave at the gym. I can sleep in La Nina. I can drink coffee and read and write in a cafe, in a library, in a college campus, in a park. But the difference is that in a motel room, I can do all of these things without having to share my space, or think that the police are going to show up and ask me to leave because I'm trespassing. The right to be left alone. That's why I rage so much. I grew up believing there was a man in heaven who had the ability and the right to look inside me all the time. But in the course of my short dissident career, I discovered that there do in fact exist places which lay outside the jurisdiction of the kingdom of heaven, and where the sweet sensation of privacy can be enjoyed. St. Petersburg, Florida is one of those places. In an empty parking lot at night in the backseat of La Nina with a bottle of rum while it rains outside. Motel 7 on a Thursday night is another. There I can fart in peace, the flatulence of release. I think that's why I'm so bloated all the time, because I'm always holding my breath, worried that I'm just about to take the wrong step and my heavenly minder is going to bark at me. So the anxiety of missteps is by now woven into the very fiber of my abdominal muscles, my diaphragm, and the way that I walk and breathe hesitantly, ready to take back my step, my word, my breath, and the whole of my life at the first hint of reproach. Sorry, sorry, sorry. One must be ready at all times. Oh, but that motel was a sweet, safe house in my surrealist underground, so far removed from the eyes of God and my Father that I could pour myself a drink and look out from the balcony at the highway below without fear of surveillance. That's one thing all my best nighttime retreats have in common, a view of the highway and the blood lights glowing by on their way to somewhere else. No loitering, said the sign on the wall behind me. No one cares, I thought. The Gordian knot in my chest was gone. The last time that happened was months ago in Texas, leaning on La Nina at night, drinking cheap wine and smoking a Black and Mild because I lacked the money or culture to buy a real cigar. Now, months later on that nighttime balcony, looking down on the constellation of streetlights, I got to feel free again and taste in my drink the flavor of sovereignty. Like a damn king, I decide. I decide. You hear me? I decide! I yell at the constellation of lights below. Solitude is another flavor in my drink. The paradox I discovered in Florida is that while I'm always by myself, I never have a moment of privacy. Always the prying eyes of God and my Father peeking through the curtain, criticizing my speech even as the words leave my mouth, correcting my steps even as I walk, a panicked, no, 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 not that, no, not there, without offering any alternative but to stand still and hold my breath and wait for Jesus to come again. But now I got a belt buckle and a lock on my door. So go to hell! That's why La Nina is inherently superior as a creative environment. Fewer options. And as much as I like having a room, there are too many things to do. I can lay down on the bed, I can watch television, I can walk to the bathroom and take a shower. I am only a simple pito, so this is a lot to me. And I do all of them in a merry-go-round of novelties. Firstly, a drink on the balcony. Secondly, a shower. Thirdly, television. The itinerary isn't set in stone, but written in sand slowly overtaken by a tide of liquor. There's a mirror in the same place in every room at the Motel 7. A part of the ritual is to check the progress of my intoxication every hour or so. Look at yourself, I say. Genius! Sheer genius! My sentimentality grows in equal portion to my grandiosity the more I drink. I think about my mother a lot. How easy I have it that I was born on this side of the line and not that. I was baptized into the American contract. I'm dripping in an imperial prestige. I'm from the land of Air Jordans and Michael Jackson. I have a smartphone. I drink $3 coffee like I don't give a damn about money. And Beatles are dying to get here. Look at yourself, I say in the mirror. Do something. Do something. Amen.